Hey.
Hi, Ty.
How are you, Allison?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you for joining me today on For the Lovers podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited for this.
This is amazing. Happy Monday.
You as well.
Thank you so much. So, lovers, it's another episode of For the Lovers podcast. It's season 2, episode 3. And today we have a special guest. We have Allison Badillo. Did I pronounce your last name?
You did. Yes, nailed it.
Great. Excellent. She's a yoga instructor and overall just bringing zest to your life. What's special about this connection here is we actually just met maybe about a week and a half ago, and she instructed a yoga class here at American Coppers on the roof, and it was so emotional for me. And I was just so uplifted and inspired and motivated with the class. And I was like, I hope we have more classes. But it was an experience I've never experienced before. And with this episode, episode 3 of For the Lovers podcast, we wanted just to talk about what are deal breakers in relationships, all relationships, not just love, not just friends or career, but how we deal, what is a deal breaker for us. And I think it's just really important to, be able to let go of the things that no longer serve us, right? Just be with a new season here. 2020 has been a roller coaster year for many of us. And we've come to realization that just some things, some people, some activities don't serve us any longer. So we have to be able to make that decision confidently as, okay, this is my deal breaker and I'm going to move on. So before we get into that though, lovers, again, you can find me at Ty Hampton on Instagram, at Ty the Bartender, at _forthelovers.com_. And Allison, just tell the lovers a little bit about yourself.
Yes, thank you for the introduction, Ty. And yeah, we met just about a week ago, a little over that. So I'm so excited that we get to connect in this new way. A little bit about me. Like Ty mentioned, I'm a yoga instructor. I'm also a health and wellness coach. And I started my own health coaching practice at the beginning of 2020. So talk about a year. I started a whole new business this year. I worked in corporate fashion for almost 4 years, and left that world middle of last year, and just have been going through this transition. Teaching yoga, meditation, became a health and wellness coach, and really am trying to bring this holistic approach of positivity and this zest life to everyone, my community, and everyone's community. So just kind of spreading love, spreading light, and really simplifying health for people. I think there's a lot of misinformation there right now, and everyone does ultimately want to live a long and healthy life, and there's just a lot of going on in the world and in our personal lives where I think we don't even know where to begin. And my mission is to really simplify that for people and to make this health journey, this healing journey for everyone unique to them and really fun and positive at the same time. I think all of those things can coexist.
I really agree. I do think that, also nothing is kind of a coincidence.
Yeah.
And by you starting this in the beginning of 2020, it's just like, wow, how necessary and timely, is that for you? Because leaving corporate world in fashion and going, head on into wellness, it can definitely be a difference. And it's just amazing how you took something maybe negative, maybe not, but and turn it into a positive lifestyle and want to encourage and bring light to other people, which is extremely important. I mean, a lot of people right now aren't able to see, any light during a time like this. It can be really dark. It can, yeah. So I guess I'm just curious though, what made you want to leave corporate fashion and start your own business?
Yeah. My own personal health journey was the deal breaker there. I absolutely loved my experience working in fashion. It's still a part of me and a part of my DNA of who just I am as a person and in my self-expression. It was stress. It was a lot of things started to unravel for me mentally and emotionally, physically, that I started to just see this is no longer serving me, right? We're gonna get there with relationships, but in that career aspect last year, I started to realize like, wow, this career lifestyle is not serving me at all anymore. And I think for a part of time, I was pushing that aside and ignoring all of the signs that my body was trying to communicate to me that this isn't working. And then I turned to yoga because I was so stressed out, and I wanted to start practicing more and more because that really eased my mind and my body, and it felt really good. So I started practicing, but the more things became stressful and built up at work, the more yoga I was practicing, and it was just, it kind of hit a wall, and I just was finally starting to listen to my body and understand that intuitively my spirit, like something was happening where I was being guided to make a decision and step into something different. And that was when I decided to quit my job. It was not an easy decision. I didn't think that I thought it was going to be a very smooth and gradual transition, and it ended up just being something that happened kind of overnight, almost over my birthday last year. And I started to pay attention to my own health journey right when I made this decision. And I promised myself that I would start taking care of myself and putting myself first, because I think that was the other thing. I was putting my job first. And I know a lot of us do that. I work with a lot of clients who do that. And it's not to say that everyone should just quit their job and, go down a peaceful path. And I think you can really do what you truly love to do. There's just other ways to build self-care into your current routine that can be really easy peasy, simple, and it just makes a better career for you. It makes you happier doing the work that you love. And I think that ties into yoga a lot, and why I loved yoga was because you're always showing up for yourself on your mat, and it's just you and your mat. And I like to take a lot of the principles from yoga teaching and yoga philosophy and tie that into my practice and share that with others, that you want to show up in the world in every facet of your life in the best you that you can. And I think that journey for me started on my mat. It starts in a lot of different ways for others, but just over this past 12 months, my practice has changed because I changed my career. But then I really realized that it was my practice that really helped me realize all of these things to begin with. And it just led me down this path. And even this year, it's been transformational. I feel like this year has been a really big spiritual awakening for me. And it is really important, like you said, to share that with others. And in this time of darkness, like, we really need to see the light, help others see the light. We can still be light. We can still feel sadness. All of these things can coexist. And it's a super important message that I've been trying to spread with my following and my community, that we should have fun too while we're doing all of this. I think joy is so important, and it's being overlooked, but I am watching it become more of a conversation that we can play, we can have fun, we can enjoy ourselves and be grateful for what we have, knowing that we're very blessed to have what we have, and using that as a leverage to make a healthier life for yourself. And not just keeping that and letting it live in your journal, right? Living that, I think, is really important too.
I have to agree. I really, really do. Part of what my brand is, For the Love, is literally living a lifestyle for the love of.
Yes.
Whatever it may be. And it's hard, yes, we're in New York City and you have to make a livelihood. And a lot of times we get caught up in our careers where our passions are no longer living within us. And especially with our quarantine status, I really just was like, okay, Ty, it's time to get back into what you always love doing. Luckily, blessedly enough, I've been able to live a lifestyle, mostly of that because I've been a bartender for 5 years, with also being a journalist. And those are my two passions. I love mixology. I love journalism. So I've been able to live that lifestyle. But when you are spreading a message of light and love, you know, you always will encounter some people that just will not be able to comprehend. And
Yes.
that's where you have to really realize, okay, well, how am I going to incorporate my lifestyle with theirs in this community so that they can be able to somehow fulfill, you know, their life journeys while on this earth. Because as you mentioned, we should be living in joy. You know, you shouldn't have to just succumb to just your journal. And also going back to the beginning when you mentioned about just the stress on your body.
Mm-hmm.
So lovers, again, for everyone that's tuning in today, it's your lover Ty Hampton with our first guest, yoga instructor and wellness health coach, Allison Medillo. We actually met about a few weeks ago, well, a week and a half ago about now.
Yeah.
And we met at American Coppers doing a rooftop sunrise yoga session. And for me, it was just super emotional. And I was happy to connect with her via social media. And during that yoga session, for me, I realized how much stress I was under. I'm always a person that thinks that, you know, I can handle it, I can do it, you know, life is life, and we go with the punches. But, you know, just this year alone, there's been so much going on, so many quickly changes, so many deaths, so many breakups, there's so many things. And just piggybacking off of our last episode, the lovers know that I recently lost my grandmother and recently broke up with a lover. So it was like double whammy happening. And, you know, that's life. There's always going to be up and downs in life. But at that yoga session that morning, because I was so emotional, I was like, wow, Ty, your body needed to release stress. It wasn't even your mind at this point. You know, it was actually your body sinking and letting go and releasing these toxins that was in your body, holding on and needing a scream out. I've never been emotional doing yoga. I've done yoga plenty of times. And I've never been, and you were a gentle guidance during the session as well. And I just think it's important for lovers to be able to tune in to their body.
Yeah.
We work so hard, especially New Yorkers. We work so hard. I mean, we get like 4 hours of sleep, maybe, and our body is deteriorating. It's screaming. It's yelling for help. And we're like, oh, it's okay, I'll get a coffee. Oh, it's okay, I'll get a Red Bull. It's not really the way to go, you know, because your body is screaming out not for those things. It's screaming out for rest, for a stretch even. And I just think that it's really, really important to listen to your body, lovers. Listen. And I think also part of one of the deal breakers for me when it comes to career, that's what we on right now, is definitely just something that's not fulfilling to my spirit. We've all come so long in our journeys with career, work, and, you know, depending where we are in life, if it doesn't bring you joy, you have to let it go. You know, it's a deal breaker. It has to go. And before, even with bartending for me, it's now a little bit mundane because I just feel like, okay, well, how many cocktails can I make? You know, how many different variations of a margarita, of a Negroni, you know, can there be? And especially that our culture of hospitality has changed due to COVID. It's just not the same. Maybe some people felt mixology was an escape. You know, it was like a crutch. Because we go to work, we see our coworkers, but then we can also see our friends. People can come to the bar. They will have an experience. It was also about the experience, which is no longer there right now, at least. And so it's like, well, what am I really doing here? It just really still serves me. So those are the questions that I think, with this being the last quarter of 2020, for all the listeners tuned in, we should really think about. Just because you've been doing it as well doesn't mean that it also serves you. We all reach a certain point in our lives that, okay, this was great. I'm happy for the experience, and I'm going to move on to something else now. And that's totally, totally okay. I mean, we have Allison on the line, and in the beginning of 2020, she quit her job, corporate fashion, to start her own business. That's a risk. But it was something that she had to do for herself because that was the love of what she was feeling inside, you know? So kudos to you, Allison.
Oh, thank you, Ty.
Absolutely.
And I just want to compliment your spirit. I followed you after you started following me after class, and I listened to your first 2 episodes of this season. So I'm not caught up with season 1, but I was moving backwards. And there was just something about your spirit. The entire listening, I was just like gleaming. I was smiling. I just felt very present with you and your story. And I am so sorry to hear about your grandmother. I lost my grandmother over these past couple months as well. So I deeply, deeply feel you. And I really love just this idea and this lifestyle of love that you are all about. It is just so wonderful and beautiful, and we need more of that. And I'm like a hell yes for that. So when we talk about deal breakers, I feel like that's kind of if I'm like a hell yes for it, and it's like I feel it in my body. Speaking of listening to your body, I need to feel it excited in my body to say yes to something, whether it's a job, a relationship, or, going out and making plans with friends. Like I need to have a certain feeling that I'm for it. That's when I know it's the right decision to do, right? Because then otherwise there's going to be resistance. If I say yes to something and I'm really unsure, or if I say yes and it's really a no, I'm just not going to be enjoying myself doing whatever I was doing and making that choice, especially with a job. I feel like I was coming home and I was complaining about it and saying how miserable I was. How am I going to go able to go to work and be positive and be a light when I'm coming home every day from work crying and being emotional about it and not talking positively about it? So it always comes back down to what is my body telling me right now? And we're definitely in a year where things have slowed down. So we are a lot softer in a way. And I think a lot of us are unsure how to open up in that softness. It's really uncomfortable. And it's something as New Yorkers we've never, ever experienced before, because we're so go, go, go all the time. And you can even ask someone like, oh yeah, like you mentioned, like I'll have another coffee. I'm not stressed. And it's like I love working with clients because they have a long list of health issues and concerns. And I'm like, we talk about stress and they're confused at first why we're talking about work stress or stress in a relationship. And I want to help them make a connection and bridge that these are your body's manifestations of what is happening because of, your stress.
I agree 100%. Actually, I was gleaming on the other end. I was definitely smiling with the phone, because it's so important that when people listen to this podcast for that 1 hour of their day, that they can literally smile from my crazy stories, and it's all real stories,
I was just going to say, you want to keep it real too, which you do, and I appreciate, and you talk about it in such a way that you're not sugarcoating anything, and I don't think you need to. We don't need to live that way. If that's not truly how life is, why do we need to portray ourselves or put ourselves out there in a different way?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree. And it's, it definitely is, it's not easy. I'll say that. It's not easy to be soft, to be vulnerable.
Yeah, no,
those
definitely
things.
not.
It actually was one of the things I talked about last episode, was this term of like being a strong Black woman. It's just it's a weird thing, and I had a lot of people actually comment on that, and they were like, well, that's offensive. It's not, because the reason why I say it's not offensive is because we're women at the end of the day. We're flowers. We're gentle creatures. We're feminine. We're females. And a lot of times we're naturally already strong. I mean, we give life,
Yeah.
So naturally we are stronger. Yes, of course. But it just comes down to just, being able to be open, be soft, and be vulnerable, and not have society look at you a certain way because you're supposed to carry all the weight of whatever you're going through.
Right.
That's not reality. And, this time shows that people are crying out, but they don't have nowhere to cry to sometimes. They hold it all in. And my example definitely came from our yoga class, because I was like, I've been telling everyone about the class. I was like, oh my goodness. And my best friend She was like, Ty, I'm so happy you cried because you never cried, Ty.
Oh.
She's like, you never let it go. You always, like, everyone always comes to you with all their issues, all their problems. And it's not like, you know, they're just dumping it on you, but we know that you're a light. But what happens when the light needs some electricity, or, you know?
Of course.
We tend to forget that even you know, other lovers like ourselves, we also need that time to recharge, to sit back and just to be that. Because I'll take responsibility as being a light. You know, I'll take responsibility in trying to pull out the inner you and other lovers, because that's what I'm here to do. Okay, that's maybe my calling. But at the same time, listening to your body is key, because you can't be the best. You can't go to work every day upset, stressed, because you're not happy within whatever you're doing. You want to give integrity. You want to give 110%.
Absolutely.
You know, no matter if it's like making glassware, whatever it is that you're doing, you know, you should be fully, and at least maybe not fully in love, but at least have it bring some excitement to you.
Yes.
And you know, that when your body tells you yes, like, oh, hey girl, do you want to go out for a drink tonight? And you're like, you know, that's when you need to listen. Yeah. That is so important. I was out for brunch last week, actually, with two of my girls, and we really spoke about that, listening to your intuitiveness.
Yes.
As women, we are automatically a higher level of intuitiveness in us.
Absolutely. It's like the feminine energy in us.
Yes. And it's when we don't listen, that's when we feel sorrow. You know, we feel this like, dang, we knew better, but why didn't we do better?
Right. It's like shame and guilt, and it's heavy, and it makes you like, we like have this people pleasing about us almost, because, you know, we want to, like, we can bear, like, we're women, we're that's who we are in nature. And I just think we always think that everywhere we go in life that we need to bear someone else's weight, you know?
Yep.
And it's learning to, and this is something that I think was the biggest thing for me in this last year of transition, is really honoring myself enough to respect myself enough and have compassion for myself and put myself first. In that, when I like talk about self-care, it's like, what do you need in this moment right now, just for you? Like, don't think about anybody else. What can you do right now for you to put yourself first? And it's not like we need to be doing something for ourselves hours and hours out of the day. Understand everyone's work life schedule is different, but it's like those small little things, those small little moments, you can just be so present and indulge in yourself to like truly just nourish yourself on such a deep level, to just celebrate yourself or give yourself the feelings that you need to feel, like whatever it is that day. It's like those little moments of self-care, I think, really help us with manage our stress. Because at the end of the day, there's not going to be no stress ever. That would be, you know, there's no perfect world where that exists. But it's really learning how to manage your stress and how to take care of yourself, so that, you know, when stressful situations come up, you know how to act accordingly without not necessarily being so reactive and in that fight or flight mode. It's like turning off that fight or flight as much as you can, or as best as you can in those moments. And I would say that this year has been a very high fight or flight year, as you know, as a collective.
Yes, it really has been. Managing your stress, I mean, that is so important, because like you said, no matter what, no matter who, where, when, what, or how, it's always going to be something. Life is roller coasters. You have your highs and you have your lows. Yeah. It's all about managing those highs and lows when you're there. You know, buckling that seatbelt and just being prepared for whatever can come your way, because it's unavoidable. You cannot avoid stress. You can avoid upsets. You know, that's just life. But as you go through life, it is very important that you're able to just you know, just manage it in the most healthiest way.
Yes.
For you, you know, like you said, taking out that time. I have a ritual that I read a chapter from a book I'm reading called The Sacred Woman. I read a chapter once a week. Now, like you said, it's not going to always be a Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, because things change. But I make sure, like, okay, this week looks like this. I'm bartending these days. I'm going to, I'm going to record these days. Today's the day I'm going to read for 3 hours, and that's going to be my thing. And that's it. And it's also something I realized during quarantine, just talking to other people, is that people don't have enough peace just because of their living situations as well.
Yeah.
So that makes it hard for people to be able to tap into themselves. And, with that, I'm just like, that's something that's something, because you can't change the outcome currently. You're going to have to try and really fight a little bit harder, because these are your circumstances. Yeah. This is the situation that you're in. And, instead of every day feeling just this heaviness of, I wish, it's going to, at some point, whatever the point comes, it's going to be like, okay, well, you know what? Today, I'm just going to leave the apartment. I'm going to leave, find a quiet place, and mind my business. But that takes steps. And I've realized
it does.
Everything is steps. And I realize when I'm giving advice to people or just talking to friends, and I make sure I'm not pushy with that, because I didn't realize it before. I didn't realize that it's steps. Just because you may have been able to adjust within a certain time frame, it's not the same for everyone else.
Absolutely.
And everyone's deal breakers aren't the same too. Even when we talk about relationships, the never ending deal breakers. I feel like, Allison, what do you think? I feel like when it comes to deal breakers in maybe a romantic relationship, they can always change.
I think they always change. I think that was what I was going to share, that just me dating at the beginning of when I moved into New York City till now, I'm a completely different person, and my deal breakers are definitely different. I think I have grown so much through just my experiences of dating, and I've seen those deal breakers evolve so much.
I used to think that deal breakers were certain, these are
like they're fixed.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. I would think that. And especially after like my last lover, I'm just like, okay, wow, okay, these are new deal breakers that
he like opened your eyes to like new things.
Yes,
right.
And I'm so grateful, honestly, because I'm very intentional now about what I want, I guess, from a partner. If I'm, when I'm ready to like really commit, I know what I want and what I'm able to give as well. And I think it's important, because a lot of times when we go into relationships, we assume is, well, he or she is not giving me this, or giving me that, but also, what are you giving?
Yeah.
Because a relationship is two people. It's a ship that you're relating to. I always say that you're on one ship and you're relating together on that ship. And that is your relationship. However it works out for you two is how it works out. But you can't expect one person to be the entire captain of the ship here. There's workers here to make the sailing smooth. And I think that people forget that when it comes to that. I think that it's maybe women, I don't know, I'm not going to say just men and women, but maybe women think men are supposed to do certain things in order to prove, I guess, why they need to relate. But which is fine. You should have your standards and the things. However, I also think that women and men should also just make sure they're very aware of themselves just before they get into a relationship.
Yes.
I think that's really, really important.
And I think that's what makes me say or feel that I have my deal breakers, or I like to call them non-negotiables.
Yes.
And like I have evolved as a person, and I've gotten to know myself so much over the last couple of years. And I think the more I grow to like learn about myself, truly love myself and be whole by myself. Like, I hear that you love your alone time. I am the same exact way. And I think I love that, because like I really love who I am as a person, and that has just taken me a lot of relationships and a lot of heartbreak to understand that I don't really need someone to complete me. I'm already complete by myself and in my own way. And I want someone to come into my life who's going to compliment me.
You said the magic words.
yeah, and like energize me and like uplift me, and that doesn't mean it's gonna always look like happiness, sunshine, and rainbows, but like we're gonna be committed together to grow and learn together. So like one of my non-negotiables is like his awareness doesn't need to be at the level that I am about myself, or his self-awareness, but I'm looking for someone who is very in tune with themselves and willing to be vulnerable and grow and communicate with a partner, and, you know, honor and respect if like they need their space to let me know that they need space, or, you know, just to be more open in dialogue and communication. I think I've dated a handful of men who just stop communicating with me, and then I'm like left, you know, like we have this term like ghosting, and it's like I don't even like that word that much, but it's just like you could have just told me and been honest and I would have been okay. And I started getting really confident where I would call someone out on it and just be like, I'm feeling this energy from you and I just want to like clear the air, understand, and then they come out and say it. But I'm like, I didn't need to invite you into that conversation. Like I want someone to just, you know, be open and honest. And I think it really boils down to values. And I look for someone who shares the same values as I do and complement those values.
I agree. You know, the term ghosting was something that I actually used to incorporate in my relationships a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's because I'm like an only child, so I was not aware of how I sometimes, you know, just deal with things that I don't like, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
Involving and growing up in New York City, there's all personalities, all kinds of men, all kinds of situations. And what I realized, especially with this last lover was like so Pacific to me. It's so crazy because he's not American. So there's a whole different, like, just a way about of culture and life and intellect that I still appreciate. Because it's just different than American men. However, of course, being someone that's American is just easier because you share the same culture. But it was just so many things, and I realized communication was really key. And I wasn't a communicator as much as I may thought so. I was a ghoster. I was someone that's like, oh, this is not going well, I'm just gonna not talk to him anymore. And yeah, it's cool when you're younger, and you know, and I think that Americans do this a lot, especially in New York. We do it a lot that we don't even notice it. We'll forget. I've forgotten I went out on dates with some people and maybe even had like, you know, a little relationship with them because I've ghosted them and they like in the back of my mind. And I'm like, you know,
right,
that's not really right. And with this situation, following up from episode 2, from the blocking situation, we finally been speaking actually, and I still don't think there's a future there. I just feel like, you know, I just appreciate that we're able to talk as adults and, you know, go over things that I didn't like and things. But I'm just like, dang, Ty, you know, you and your friends are so used to blocking someone because they said something and then you've seen something that you didn't like, instead of just discussing it. You know, we invest our time and energy into people, and just to ghost them, that's really, let's see what happened here. Let's kind of talk about it.
Yeah.
Like you said, relationships are not going to be rainbows and sunshine every single day.
No, definitely not.
And if the person compliments you, energizes you, inspires you, you know, then you have to figure out a common ground kind of where you two can maybe progress together. And I think for me, that's where I'm at now when it comes to like deal breakers. If there's no progression, then there's, you know, I need you to be a little bit aggressive in being progressive. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that you got a chance to talk to him and talk things through with him. I think a lot of times what's really hard when ending relationships is there is just the communication just stops and you're just left wondering with a million questions that are just buzzing around in your head. And I mean, every relationship is different. Sometimes even when you have a conversation, I've had friends who've shared to me, and me personally, it doesn't really help, or it doesn't go anywhere, but sometimes it does. And I think as long as you're growing and you're learning and you're walking away from, this is what I like to do, is like walk away from a relationship with one word that this relationship taught me.
Ooh, that's so interesting. I love that.
So now I have, I started doing it with even just like people I very casually went on a couple dates with, but I'm like trying to look back and be like, well, what is like the one word or the one thing that I learned from this person? And so like 2 relationships that were longer term that come to mind. The first one, I really learned self-confidence with him. And the second one, I learned patience.
Ooh, those are really good ones. Patience is really a virtue.
It really, and like, it was a really great, positive relationship, but we were both in very different points in our lives, but you could just tell we were trying to make it work, and we were so patient with one another. And it's funny because I'm not a patient person. I'm like an Italian, and I'm like, I'm very fiery.
Yes.
And it's funny too that I'm now a yoga teacher because I'm a Gemini, so there's definitely
that's so funny. I'm a Sag, so like
okay,
yes. So
okay, he was a Sag. So
wow,
we complemented each other so well, and like I said, we were just in 2 different points in our lives, and so it mutually ended, and I've just never ended a relationship mutually on such good terms. And I walked away, and I was, mourning the relationship and sad about it, but I looked at it right away, and I was like, he taught me patience. Like, I never in my life has something taught me more patience than that. So I like to now, it takes time because it's a lot of growing and learning and evolving, but even now, like in future, like looking at dates, and going on dates, I try to set intentions with dating too. I think that's fun. And, lately it's been like practicing vulnerability and, certain other things. But yeah, coming out of a relationship with a word, going into a relationship with a word, just to like kind of give you something to hold on to as you can walk away from somebody and they can still have taught you a very valuable lesson, no matter how it ended, right?
Yes, I agree. Every L is a lesson. It's not a loss.
Yeah, it's not a loss. I love that. I forget what episode, if it was 1 or 2, where you said lessons learned. I'm a very big I don't think failures are failures. Like it's all lessons learned.
All lessons learned.
And it's just redirection in your path,
yes.
Right? Like I don't think you'll ever be guided in the wrong direction. It's just life doesn't go down one road. You're going to go down multiple roads. They're going to be windy. There's going to be hills. There's going to be plateaus. And it's all lessons at the end of the day.
It is. And it's literally going into a relationship with one word and coming out. I think that is so important. So lovers, tune in, write that down. Because
love that.
that we love talking about relationships. And I think that, when you date someone, have that intention. And if you're not clear, it's okay. But you can look back at your other people you've dated and say, this person taught me patience. This person taught me vulnerability. And that was the key with my last lover is I don't hate people, I don't like, oh my gosh,
yeah.
Like, even if I feel like you're a terrible person, I'm just like, well, he still taught me this and this and this,
Yeah,
I'm gonna still find the good in everybody, even if I feel like we're not a match. But and he's an Aries, and I feel like Aries and Sagittarius are great friends.
Yeah,
I feel like we're fire, and we'll have a ball together and have fun, and that's what that was. But then I think when it becomes a little bit under the surface, there's always issues. I had a lot of Aries women friends that are all at a distance right now, and it's been like that for years, and it's still always all love. I invite them to every birthday party I have, but we cannot be like an everyday thing.
Yeah.
And there's like this victimization that they have within them. And I don't want to offend any Aries that are listening right now because I still love you all. But you know what you do. You play these games. And as a Sag who's already a gamer, I'm always sitting back like, I see what's going on. Like, I see how you're twisting this around. I mean,
yep.
It's so crazy because even like with the lover, he like, after we're talking now and he says, I listened to your last podcast. Obviously it was about him. And I was like, okay, well, what do you think? He says, I think it was great. You opened up, vulnerable, all these things. But then he says, it's always something. Then he says, I wish that you would have seen me post about how you blocked me to my on my stories. I was like, what do you mean? Like, he made this whole spiel about to his followers on Instagram about how I blocked him and I guess he was expressing it to his followers. And
yes.
And I was just like, why are you telling me this though? Like, why are you telling me that you made a post about being blocked? Like, that's so silly. Did you tell them also why I blocked you?
Right. Like, how much detail did you share?
Yeah, like how much, and like this is not even about you still. This is still about me. Like, and like, I don't know why you felt the need to share that to me. Like, it was just, I don't know, it was just weird. Like, it was just really strange. But moving on, I guess it affected him in a way because no one's ever blocked him before. So that was a big deal, but whatever. I think when it comes to relationships, what would you say is an intention that you'll have for a date?
Good question. The most recent one that I actually haven't been on a date in a minute, but because of COVID.
Right.
But the last one I went on, my intention was to be completely myself. And I think the more I grow into myself and the more I am becoming just more me and shedding those layers, I noticed that in the beginning of just dating, I was just so scared to show that. I mean, it's vulnerability at the end of the day, right. But I was just so scared to show that quirky side of me or like that loud, passionate part of me. Like, I didn't want to come on too strong. And I think my last date, I was like, no, that ends now. Like, you are going to go there and you are going to sit there and that person can just be one of your girlfriends, like having a drink and like, I think I learned this with my career too. Like, I don't need to have different versions of myself for different, areas of my life. Like, I don't need to show up as one person in my career. I don't need to show up as another in romantic relationships and show up as another in family relationships. Like, you get one me, one Allison, and she's gonna show up the same every single time from now on. And that was something so scary to me, but that intention really helped me just like, oh my God, I felt it in my shoulders. Like, something released for me that I didn't need to stress about what I was going to say next. Like, I was just so present with him. And like, we had such a great date. I was listening to him. He was listening to me. It made me bring a very different energy to the date. And he picked up on that, whether he realized it or not. And he was able to also just be really comfortable, be himself, and be vulnerable back. So I think if you want something from a man or from a relationship, show up and be that for yourself. Like, your energy is going to attract what you want. So show up in a way that you want someone else to show up, because they're just gonna compliment you. They're gonna magnetize to that. And I think, dating's so interesting because we just want someone, and it's just like that energy blocks us from actually getting the version of that person that we want. And I don't think we intentionally do that, but being aware that that's what's going on, that you can kind of manifest that. Like, I think you can manifest it in the opposite direction if you show up the way you want that person to show up. You have allowed me to go to a place of reminisce just now. Oh. Yes, thinking about my last date, because my last outing was a hangout, so it wasn't a date. Okay. My last date was, I think, in July, and I went out with this guy, and we had the best time. And you know why? I was myself. Yes, love to hear that.
Yeah, I was myself. We talked for we met like 7. We left when the restaurant was closing, okay. And it was just, I was like, and he even said, he was like, wow, this is one of the best days I've ever had, because I haven't talked to a woman like my age, so intellectually and a little ratchet, and some politics. We talked about everything.
You went everywhere. Oh my God, love this.
Yeah, it was so important. And I also think when it comes to dating, though, like a real date, it's different. But I feel like I kind of want to know you a little bit before I go on a date.
Yeah.
I want to have a little something, like maybe a few conversations before, to just break the ice, because sometimes that helps to be yourself when you arrive on this date, just from your outfit. Like as women, we change our outfits like 500 times.
Yep.
I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. Oh, I'm late because this pants don't fit or something. And when you establish like a little bit of conversation with someone before you go on a date with them, your nerves are at ease.
Yes.
Because you've seen them before, maybe, or you talk to them, casually. So you're not so nervous like it's a complete stranger. I think when it's a complete stranger, it is a little bit like, okay, well, I don't know, how this is going to work. But it's so important to be yourself in all aspects. And especially, I know Geminis are like, they love to say Geminis are two-faced, and I don't like that terminology. I just like to say, y'all have two personalities.
I embody for sure two different personalities.
And that's fine. Like that is, but that's the realism of you. And
we're multifaceted. Exactly. I mean, everyone is, but I've learned to. At first, I was like, well, am I not being like my authentic self? Because I think it confused me at first, and then once I got to really, learn more about myself, I was like, oh no, that's that part of me. Oh no, okay, that's that part of me. But on a date, I want to show up and I in some light expose a little bit of both of them. But like you said, on a first date, it's really nerve-wracking, and you don't have to just give everything or just show everything. But I think, you give a taste, and you can expose a little bit, and then you kind of see what they what's the word I'm looking for? Reflect back on you, and are they also interested in opening up a little bit? You kind of have to learn how to read people too. And I like that you guys went on a hangout and it you had the best time. Do you think that's why it was just because it was a more relaxed in nature, that it wasn't necessarily a first date, that's why the energy was the way it was?
I think so. And I think that's really important, because I think before, when people used to say the word date to me, I would get really nervous automatically, because I'm just like, all right, that's setting the intention. You want this to be something more, in a sense. And I don't know yet. I'm really honest with myself, and I'm like, I really don't know if I like this person yet. And when you do a hangout, let's maybe go for small bites and drinks. It's leaving the, what is it? It's opening up the atmosphere for just letting it flow.
Yeah, letting it flow.
We're just hanging out, and maybe there's no romanticness between us. Maybe we could just be friends, and that's also okay. But when you say, oh, let's go on a date, I'm just like, oh, I'm nervous. This guy likes me. I don't even know if I like him. And what if I'm not ready for a relationship? Those are the things I used to think about all the time before.
I know your thoughts just they go. And that still happens to me all the time. But, I'll just go, and I'm like another intention. I just want to have fun.
Yes.
I just want to laugh. I just want to laugh. If the intention is to laugh and he made me laugh, I'm like, that was a successful night.
Yes.
I'm okay with it. And if he doesn't want to talk to me again, or I don't want to talk to him, then that's okay. I think when we flip the perspective on what we want out of those couple of hours, it's so much less pressure on what it can be or what it can turn into. Because we're I just feel like I'm in the Uber and I'm like, oh my God, is he gonna be my husband?
Yes.
We just go there and I'm like, what is happening? I haven't even met the person. I don't even know if he has brown or blue eyes. And it's so funny where our minds go.
It is.
And I think the more I become aware of it, the more I laugh at myself, honestly. And I have dialogue with myself where I'm like, you're funny. You just need to turn that off and relax and be there. I think being present is another one. Really practicing my listening on dates is fun too. Really showing eye contact is a really big one too. I think that's a deal breaker for me. Like, where is his eye contact the whole night and the whole date? Like, is he on his phone? Is he staring off behind me? Is he, fidgety? I mean, obviously, like, I'm not going to fixate on little things if he's nervous, but I think you can tell a lot about a person with their eye contact.
I agree. I think that I've always, growing up, eye contact was very important. It changed a little bit for me though, which is interesting because 2 years ago I had retinal detachment surgery.
Yes, yes. I would love for you to share that. Yes, like a little more. Yeah.
It was it's still a journey. It's honestly still a journey, talking to people and creating eye contact because they don't know where to look. I don't know where to look, but they feel my energy, so it's okay. But I was a little self-conscious when it came to like dating because it was like even if I kiss you, I'm gonna look you in your eyes, and I was like, I really can't though. Like I literally will lose your nose when I focus in. So it's like, how am I going to work this out? But as men, they really don't care about things like that, unfortunately, and. Women, we overthink a lot, like you said, in the Uber. I'm like, I wonder what our kids are gonna look like. Let me take a picture and like upload in this app. And it's like so crazy because like, Ty, just relax. You just go there.
You're texting your friends like a picture of him, like of who you're going on a date with, and like everybody knows like where you're going, the address, and if like they need to be on call, like it's a whole production.
It's a whole production, which is okay because it's actually very necessary. I think that goes back to the first episode, is having like a buddy system.
Oh yeah,
because it is crazy out here, unfortunately. But it's really a thing. As we come up to our hour, lovers, it's been such a great journey talking to Allison. Yes. Allison, where can they follow you on Instagram?
They can follow me at Allison Modolo Yoga, and my website is AllisonModoloYoga.com. So you'll get all of the yoga, meditation, mindfulness, coaching, guidance, and goodness. Both of those places.
Do you have any up and coming yoga sessions that the lovers can possibly schedule with you?
I have 2 coaching programs. One I'm actually launching tonight, so that one's full. But my next coaching program starts in middle of October. It's called Squeeze Stress Away. So it's a 5-week program where we'll do yoga, we'll have meditations, but I like to really educate and inspire people to learn about a lot of what we talked about their stress in their bodies and how to stress manage, just kind of listening and being in tune with your body. So if they want more information on that, you can find it on my website. And yoga has been pretty private right now. So I will be teaching at American Copper through the end of the month. But I actually am moving out of the city temporarily, so I'm not positive about yoga just yet. But if you stay tuned, I definitely will pull a schedule together because I do love teaching.
That is wonderful. Where are you moving to?
I am not sure yet, which is obviously like really, really crazy for me. I'm a very big planner, so this is the first time in my life I am feeling more in the flow and just trying to be a little guided about where I go next. I'm feeling pulled to the West Coast.
Ooh, so yes. That's interesting.
We'll see. Yeah, but who knows? I mean, it's also hard to think about like moving in a time like this and exploring somewhere new because everyone wants to just be safe at the end of the day too.
Right.
So yeah, all of that is still in mind.
Well, Allison, I thank you so much for your time today. Lovers, we discussed so much this episode. It doesn't even feel like an hour has passed, but lovers, you tuned into the Florida Lovers podcast with your host Ty Hampton, our guest today, Allison Modolo, and we discussed a lot. We discussed just lifestyle of being in zest, doing it for the love, understanding your stress, and of course, what are deal breakers from career to relationships. And I think that is so important to just get in tune to the inner you, which will always tie it all together for the love of, and once you're able to tap in, Take your time, but tap into yourself and be your own light. Shine bright within yourself. And thank you always, lovers, for supporting. Stay tuned. We have such a great season this season, and we're just doing it for the love. We wish Allison much success, of course. And I'm sure once things are settled in, she'll be back, and I'm excited for that. And it's interesting though you say you're a Gemini, because I already know Geminis and Sagittarius have a very adventurous plateau, if you would say. Like,
yes,
there's always this adventure and just a amazing relationship there. So I'm excited to see what the future holds. And again, lovers, this is episode 3 for the Lovers Podcast, and this episode we're going to title The Inner You.
Love that.
Yes,
love that.
Yes, as you see, everything is about just the flow of energy and things. It's always so much pressure sometimes doing these episodes, doing it right, making sure it launches on time, editing it. And once I'm always like, okay, Ty, just let it go, let it flow. Yeah. It's always perfect, and people love it. I want to be here for you. I want this to be a therapy session, always, for me, for the guests, for the listeners. And again, lovers, you can listen to us on Spotify, on Apple. Every Wednesday at noon, a new episode drops. And just keep doing it for the love. And until next time, lovers, stay safe, use your sanitizers, and wear a mask.
Thank you, Ty. Keep on loving you guys.
Bye, Allison.